everyone. Welcome to the Naked Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Sage Hobbs, author and creator of Naked Communication, and I'm so psyched you're here. This show is all about taking charge of your life in new and inspired ways to create a life you deeply love. It's about being more you in all areas of your life, more courageous, more free, more alive, more naked. I'll be sharing stories and advice from amazing people around the world who are up to incredible things on how they are successfully breaking free from fear and old patterns in order to create incredible relationships and impactful lives so that you can do the same. This is the place to be inspired to live a courageous and naked life. Let's do this. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Naked Conversations. This is episode 49. What? You can find the show notes and anything I mentioned here today over at sagebhobbs.com/episode-49. Thank you all so much for being here. For those of you who are loyal listeners, I so appreciate that you come back again and again, week after week. And for those of you who are new here, thank you for taking the time to participate in this conversation. I know there's so many ways that we could spend our time, so many things pulling for our attention. So this show has evolved with a clearer and clearer focus on sharing the stories of women who are courageously stepping up to create a positive social impact. And I really believe that any woman, any person can do that. So I'm talking to leaders who are on a mission to contribute to the greater good. And it's still a storytelling show where we have deep and real conversations that remind us of how connected we really are and what's possible when we really listen to the stories of each other's lives. So I have a request before I dive into today's show. I really want to know what you're thinking when you listen and what you're getting out of your experience of tuning in and what things really resonate for you, what questions you still have, what topics you want covered, who might be your dream guest that you want me to interview. So if you can send me a message over on Instagram, Sage B Hobbs over at Instagram, just direct message me, send me a DM. Or sage@sagebhobbs.com. I really aim to look at every single email that comes through and let me know what you love about the show or a topic that you'd like covered. Secondly, share the show with your friends. Tag me on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Let people know. I have this dream, and we're not far from it, that we see 10,000 downloads by the end of this year. At the time of this recording, it gives us about 5 more weeks. And it would just be fun. I'm not overly attached. I just want to play for expansion and seeing how many folks can get access to these really beautiful conversations and witness each other's stories and be inspired and activated to make a difference through their own lives, work, and relationships. So share it, let people know, and then send me a message. Those are my 2 requests. Thanks for playing along. Let's get started. Solo shows are really organic. It's when I kind of riff on what I'm working on or what I've been learning or thinking about, and I share some of that insight and some of those stories with you. It's me being naked, really, and walking to my own edge of leadership and just expressing what's coming up for me and what wisdom I've been garnering in my own personal and professional development journey, because I'm always on one. So I have 2 fun things that I've recently participated in that were fun and profound and beautiful, and I want to share them with you. And then I want to talk to you about how I relate to my own gratitude practice and read to you from my actual journal. Because Thanksgiving is happening this week in the United States. And for me, that has nothing to do really with our US history. It has to do with gathering of people I love and sharing stories and sharing time and sharing food. And we spend the whole day together as a family. We do a puzzle and we laugh, and sometimes we argue because that happens too in family systems, right? And it is sacred, special experience for me. We always host it at our own home. My brother usually flies in from Brooklyn with his girls and his wife. My sister is usually with us. It's sometimes other people are here. It's just a very special experience for me. And it is sort of a culminating event of a lifetime of trying to practice gratitude and actually give thanks. So in the spirit of that, this week, I want to share with you what gratitude really looks like for me and how it might inspire you and change your life, because it actually has changed my life. And it still continues to when shit is hard and I'm frustrated and I'm fearful and I'm angry And that happens to me not infrequently when I read the news, when I speak to people who are struggling or suffering. So gratitude is really a grounding practice for me. And giving thanks and teaching my children to give thanks is something that I'm always striving for. So we're going to talk about that today too. So the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was last week, my mom sent me this email that said, hey, they're recording a documentary called We Rise Up. And they're asking for regular old folk to come be interviewed for this film. Would you and the kids want to do this? I really don't know how I saw this email in the middle of a work day. I was in the middle of various things. Somehow I happened to open it at the exact right moment. And I clicked over onto the link and there were only a select number of spots for this opening to be in this film. So I grabbed 3 for myself and my 2 children and headed down to the fancy hotel in Boulder last Saturday, I believe it was. And my kids really didn't want to go, right? They were like, I don't want to do that. What do you mean be in a movie? This sounds scary. I'm nervous. What do I say? What is it going to be like? Why are we doing this? I just came from my basketball game. I'm tired. I'm sweaty, whatever it was, right? And I had in that moment, like feelings of frustration, like, why don't they get how cool this is? This is a movie about making a difference in the world. And then I remembered that they're kids. And I just said to them, hey, I don't really know much either. Let's go figure it out together. When you're older, I think you'd be really psyched to look back and see that you participated in this project that was about making a contribution to the world, transformation, what we rise up for, what's important to us. And, at the very least, you can tell your friends you were in a movie this weekend. And then I ultimately said, we're doing it, right? I put down a little bit of my mom's foot. And off we went. And it was such a beautiful and cool experience. I have no idea whether or not we will be in the film or not. I'll let you know. My mom also participated. So we had 3 generations. And it was a collective of people who really wanted to leverage the conversation of our own yearnings, our own commitments, what we stand for, and use that, the film medium, to put out in the world the possibility of transformation, of making a difference, of being of service on a myriad of topics. So I was so proud of my kids because they were nervous. It was a whole room with media production, cameras, lights, soundboard, the whole thing. They even put that little thing in front of us that said, clip 73 of We Rise Up film, take 73, clip, and it snapped down. And for my kids, they had to stand them up on blocks so that they could be taller and in line with the camera and have the microphone in the right place. And they were super nervous. And they came up with what they wanted to say themselves. And I felt so proud and so much hope for the future when I listened to my 5-year-old and my 9-year-old. The 5-year-old said, I rise up for peace and that everyone has a home and food and water, which I just thought was so beautiful. We talk about the homeless community here where we live, the homeless population, and how she internalized that for herself. And whatever even peace means to her, I'm not even sure, but it was so beautiful and clear that it meant something. And then my son, who loves animals and loves to be outside, said, I rise up for all living beings and all living organisms. That's what he said. And then the director had him change it to beings, but he said, I rise up for all living organisms and to stop global warming. And the director had him say all living beings, and I rise up for the planet. So we'll see which one comes through. But the essence was, he wants to save the earth. He's a steward of the earth. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I promise you, I did not feed that to them. I had my own thing that I wanted to say. I was so inspired by just the nakedness, the realness of young people. And when you really ask them for their opinions or their ideas, that they have something to say. So that was my story with the We Rise Up film. You can go check that out. There's, I believe, a website and definitely social media buzzing around about it. They're going to have the Dalai Lama, Sir Richard Branson, Sean Korn, yoga activist whom I love and respect, Lynn Twist, whom you've heard me speak about before, who's an enormous fundraising magician on the planet, and just a beautiful, inspirational woman around leading a committed life. So these are the types of folk who will be in this film. And maybe you'll see my cute little kids pop up as well. The second thing was the following weekend, I went to see Michael Franti's new documentary called Stay Human. And you can find out about that at stayhumanfilm.com. And I mean, I love Michael Franti. You've heard me speak about this before. I love his music. I love the sense of community he builds immediately among thousands of people when you attend his show. There's a vibe of love that is profound. I know Vibe of Love sounds very woo, but really he creates community in a way that is rare among strangers. And he asks this question that is one I hold in my heart very dearly, which is about the battle he sees in the world today, all over the world. This film interviews folks from all over the world and tells their human stories and the struggles that we face. And the challenge that he really sees is not even about the polarization of our political parties, although that is one of them. It is really a challenge of cynicism versus optimism. And that is really what I feel like we're grappling with as a human community. Are we going to fall into cynicism, or are we going to continuously choose optimism and work from there? So the Stay Human film, oh my gosh, we've had third row seats at the Boulder Theater. I went with my beloved neighbors, which is the mom and her two 16-year-old twin daughters. I had the opportunity to stand in front of the microphone and ask a question and actually have a conversation with Michael Franti myself. And then, of course, to listen to some beautiful music with him and this incredible young 20-year-old musician, Victoria Canal. I can put links to all of this in the show notes, but it was beautiful. If it is coming to a theater near you, you should definitely go and watch it in community with other people. Brene Brown, in her Braving the Wilderness book, talks about the power of coming together in collective joy and in collective grief. And I find that to be just an extraordinary human experience. You know, if you think about weddings or you think about funerals, there's something that happens in those spaces, for example, that brings out our collective humanity. And we really need more of that. So We Rise Up film, Stay Human film, those are the things that have been inspiring me and exciting me lately. So I just want to share with you about my gratitude practice and give you some examples. And I've shared some of this before on the blog and in earlier podcasts, but people have told me that we need to hear it again. And every year, I think around this time will be the time where I really want to get out there in the world in my own way around how we can, any of us, find something to be grateful for in meaningful ways that aren't full of BS, that don't feel trite, that don't feel contrived. And I'm just going to share with you how I do it. So the first thing is that I don't force it. You know, I really hate when people tell you that you should be grateful when things are really going badly, when you're in tragedy, when you're in crisis, when you're in despair. When you're in those places, there's a moment where you need to pause and just get the experience you're having. And actually, I talk about that in the Naked Communication book, which if you don't have it, now's a great time to just grab it. It's on Amazon, Naked Communication. You can also find it on my website. As you're about to gather with families, perhaps over the coming holidays, depending on what you practice, we all could use some help and support around how we communicate for better connection. But I talk about this idea of really getting it, really understanding somebody else's experience, even if you don't agree. And we really need to give that grace to ourselves as well. So with gratitude, I don't make myself be grateful when I'm really suffering. I give myself a moment to suffer, and then I don't stay in the suffering. So when my dad was sick and dying, I had moments where I was rageful. I was devastated. I was scared. I can still actually feel that when I share that with you. And then I had moments where I felt so grateful just to hold his hand and get to be with him and feel his love. So you don't force the gratitude. You wait until you felt what you need to feel, and then you can find some authentic gratitude after the fact. Okay, so the second thing is I made a habit of it. I made a habit of it, but I don't beat myself up about doing it perfectly. So I try to write down a few things that I'm grateful for most mornings of the week. I usually skip the weekends. I aim for more days than not. And that's what I tell my clients. Aim for more days than not. I don't sweat it when I miss days. I don't allow it to be something I can make myself wrong for not doing. I just have habituated it as part of my life. In the mornings, before my kids wake up, I pull out my journal and I write down a few things. It is not rocket science. I'm not the first to say it. And the habit making part has made a profound difference in my own joy, my own effectiveness to make a contribution, my own ability to lead. And it sounds maybe grandiose, but when I am actually really present and grounded in what's working in my life, as opposed to paying attention to what's not, then I can go out and really be of service, show up on the podcast, show up with clients, show up at speaking events, be present for my kids, be connected to my husband, all the things. So I made a habit out of it. The third thing is that anything counts. Don't overthink it. Explore and experiment. You get to decide what's worthy of your list or what's not. You get to decide if you do it in the morning or in the evening. You get to decide if you record it into your iPhone or if you write it down paper to pencil. It is an experiment in shining a light on what is working in your life, what is bringing you joy, what are the moment, small graces, what are the pieces of happiness that you can find some appreciation for. You get to experiment with that. The fourth way that I do it is to be specific, and that has helped me enormously. So that's how you can really have the feeling of it land more strongly inside of you. So you can actually feel and experience the gratitude versus it staying in your head. And you know me if you've listened for a while. I am heady. I like to intellectualize things. I like to read. I like to geek out. I was a, overachieving student. So being specific helps me really experience the feeling of the gratitude. So for example, when my son says something amazing like, I'll just eat donuts and make mischief. If I write that down, like, oh my gosh, my son said that about attending this gathering. I'm just going to eat donuts and make mischief. Instead of just writing down the cute things my kids say, it actually makes me smile. When I write down, I'll eat donuts and make mischief. I mean, I'm saying it to you right now. It brings the experience of gratitude into my body. So I feel it versus just, oh, my kids say cute things. So I just invite you to experiment with being specific, right? And then the last thing, the fifth thing for me that has proven really helpful, and it just really works for me, is that I actually write them down, old school pen and paper. There's something magical about that. It's always been helpful for me to write things down. I write podcast notes and my book and things like that on the computer. I type them on the computer. But anything that's creative or when I'm generating ideas or handwritten cards that you get in the mail and my gratitude practice, I do it pen to paper. I like it, and I like to see my appreciation on the paper. Right now, I'm going to read to you some of the things I've written down over the last several months, and I can do that because I'm looking at my journal. You actually might hear me flipping pages. So here are a bunch of things that I've written down, and I just want to share them with you from my heart to yours. And if some of them land with you, great. If these aren't your circumstances right now and you're struggling, I send you love. I send you hope for when you can access some more gratitude. And fair warning, let's not compare our gratitudes to each other's. We're all on different paths, having different experiences. And comparison always just siphons our joy. So here are some of my gratitudes. I'm literally opening up my journal at random 2 pages. Let's see. Here we go. This is from August. Gratitude, our sound machine. I love our sound machines that we sleep to. Each of us has one in our room. My husband's best friend, Mike, flying out from Indiana for my husband's 40th birthday. And it's just that he took the time and effort and money to do that. Let's see. Jesse getting up and dressed on his own without me asking him to. My quiet morning practice. My friends and full, rich life here. Coming up for clarity. And my birthday party. My handwriting's messy, so I stumbled on that one because I'm not exactly sure what my specificity was. I couldn't read it. Here we go. Nathan sitting out on our front stoop with me and just dreaming and strategizing about what we might want to do to our home and how we might change it and make it more cozy. Watching Queer Eye for the Straight Guy together. Celebrating with our birthday party and our friends gathering together. Snuggling with my kids before bed. And having a whole open day today with very little planned. My MRI is done, and I have the access to the technology that could save my life. My mom bringing me the medication that I had forgotten before my MRI appointment. Hot tea, a client appreciation email, amazing sex, a beautiful marriage, a cozy bed, and exploring philanthropic causes. Again, I paused to read my messy handwriting. Biking my kids to school, talking and dreaming with Nathan. My children's elementary school and the warm community there. The love I have for my clients. Let's see, what else? My yoga mat this morning. Hot showers. Sounds of my son getting ready. Summer dinners on the front yard with friends. And that my husband still loves his work as a teacher. Heading out this afternoon to go camping. having an amazing conversation with one of my best friends, Katie, yesterday. The fact that my son has an incredible fourth grade teacher and the special parent teacher, a back to school night. That's what it says. Going for a hike with my friend Carol, my best friend Erica's amazing pep talk, homemade Caesar salad, getting a referral from a dear client, Brigitte and Nico, who helped produce this podcast. You're in my gratitude journal, you guys, from September. Their excitement, my kids' excitement for Ninja Nation and the classes that they take there. I'm going to give just two more that I can find here and read. I had a clear and direct conversation with somebody I worked with that was scary for me, and it went well. The La Fiesta of Intercambio and local organization was so fun. And I had such a great time going and sharing that with my friend Jackie. Virtual shopping with Erica for my brother's wedding, having her help me choose my outfit via FaceTime. And a fun weekend with my kids at pool parties and time with my mom and Clark. So those are some examples that I share with you just so you can hear, A, we're all humans having human experiences. B, it's little and big things that I put down. 3, there's a range of things that are happening in our daily lives that can land on your list. So that is what I want to leave you with today. Thank you so much. This is just something I'm really grateful for is you. I make this podcast from my home, really as a passion project of love, with this idea that each of us can share our stories, our wisdom, our voice, our passion. And in doing so, we can connect more deeply with who we are and who we want to be in the world. And I really couldn't do it if there weren't folks listening, or it certainly wouldn't be nearly as fun. I do it because I want to bring us together. I do it because I want you to understand what you're really capable of, who you can be in the world, how you can express, how you can connect. That gives me hope and that gives me joy. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening and for participating in this conversation and for giving me a space into which I can share who I am and what I want to create in the world. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to you. If you do not, I'm sending you love no matter where you are listening today. Till next time. Thank you so much for listening to Naked Conversations. Yay! It really means the world to me every time you show up. And if you want to know more about how to work with me personally and my coaching, you can check that out over at sagebhabs.com. You can also get some great free resources over there about how to make powerful requests and many blog posts full of resources for living a naked life, as well as grab a copy of my book, Naked Communication: Courageously Create the Relationships You Really Want. Thanks again. See you next time.